So it's time to take another look at some clone hardware. Now you may remember the last Game Boy we looked at was actually emulation based, but this thing here, the GameBox, is 100% real hardware. It's a proper hardware clone, no emulation at all. Now as you can see, it's got some Russian writing on the top. It is made in China, but it's made for the Russian market. Around the back it's all in Russian as well. Now what do you get in the box? Well, let's take a look. First of all, you get the power adapter here, the power brick. No good in Japan, but that's not a problem because you also get a USB charging cable as well, so we can just use that if you want to charge the system up. As well as the cables, you get an instruction manual, and yes, as you'd expect, it is all written in Russian, but it is fairly well put together, so no complaints there. And you also get a little guarantee card. So as you can see, they are really selling this as some official hardware. Also in the box you get this cartridge. This is the game 999 in one, and it doesn't in fact have 999 games on it, which is pretty obvious really, because these things never have that many games on. And it doesn't even have half that amount of Game Boy Advance games on it. What it is a mix of Game Boy Advance games and Nintendo games. So some sort of emulation going on there. I mean on the software front, not on the actual hardware. But what's the actual hardware itself like? Well, here it is. Now, you know, to be honest, the build quality isn't that bad. I mean, I've seen worse. You've got a nice little GameBox sticker on the side. You've got a proper full-size Game Boy Advance cartridge slot, and yes, it does play real Game Boy Advance games. Around the back of the system, we have the lithium-ion battery, which is rechargeable, obviously. Some various information there. We got on the back a link port, and yes, this machine will link up to an official Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Advance SP, and you can link to these game boxes up as well. Got the charging port there, the L and R trigger buttons, not bad. Around the side here we got the volume control, and on the other side we have the power on and off. Now when you open up the system, what you're greeted with is what looks like a basic Nintendo Game Boy Advance SP. The joypads, fairly responsive, a little bit stiff, but you know, fairly responsive. Got start and select here, B and A buttons, and this button up here, which I presume is the reset. Now we have got a screensaver on here, so it's gonna look a little bit messy, but I'm not taking that off because to be honest, I don't want the screen getting scratched up. So let's take a look at what this machine is like when you boot it up. So first let's stick in the game 99 in 1. And tell you what I'll do is I'll reposition the camera there so it's all lovely and in focus. Okay, now that we're a little bit closer to the screen, let's power on the system and see what it's like running. So when the game boots up, we get this lovely little GameBox logo, not the Game Boy Advance one, and instantly we go to a menu screen with the 999 games in one. So at first we got a load of Game Boy Advance games, but once you get to around about 50 or so, it ends up going into Famicom games. As you can see here, it's boot up Akuma Joe Dracula. Now some of the Famicom games run pretty slowly. How do I start? I'll start button. No? I just start this game. There you go. Press the wrong button. Now the actual speed of the game seems okay, but to me the audio seems a bit slow. And this one has a very interesting glitch where the score actually scrolls across the top of the screen. Okay, so there is some Famicom emulation going on there. Like I said, on a software point of view, not on the actual hardware. The set button doesn't seem to work on Famicom games, so we'll just switch it off and switch it back on. So let's take a look at the actual Game Boy Advance games. So why not just start off with Contra. Now you can actually tell that the screen on this thing is pretty good. It's very clear. Got a good viewing angle as well. So as you can tell, the speed of the Game Boy Advance games is really good. And as far as I can tell, it sounds just like a real Game Boy Advance as well. I am playing this through the viewfinder, so it is a bit tricky. But as you can see, it is really smooth. Okay, Double Dragon Advance. Now on the other Game Boy clone, which I did a video on before this one, the Woody, this game was terrible on that. But I think on this actual real hardware clone, the game runs perfectly. Okay, let's start it up and see. Shoulder buttons, are they working? Oh yes. Let's try out a bit of R-Type 3, see how that goes. So while we're here, let's take a look at the left and right angle viewing on the screen. As you can see, it's pretty good. It's been a long time since I played Mr. Nuts. There you go, that's right. So before we test out a real Game Boy Advance cartridge, an official one, let's take a look at one more Famicom game and see how they run on it. Here we go with Legendary Rings, and actually this one doesn't play slow, this one plays quite well. So maybe the Famicom emulation on this system is just hit and miss, depending on the game. Okay, so let's try out an official Game Boy Advance cartridge. Oops, wrong button. Okay, and to do that, I've got a couple of copies of Naruto. Let's see. Let's give this one a try first. Now this should just boot up automatically like a normal Game Boy Advance game. Let's hope it does. So there you have it. That is the GameBox. A Game Boy clone from China that doesn't suck. It's a real hardware clone. Let's turn that sound off. Yep, a real hardware clone, not an emulated clone. And as I said at the beginning of the video, the build quality is fairly good. So there we have it. If you're after something a little bit interesting and you want a nice cheap Game Boy Advance SP with a pretty clear screen, then I could certainly recommend the GameBox. Try it out now.